So we're looking at this fender, and that bracket kind of sort of lined up with that pin there.
Well, this used to be on the bike.
Yeah, this other side is way out. It must have been flexed in.
Yeah.
And we're showing it to the guy that knows these bikes. And he's like, this is a big twin fender. So we got the wrong front fender. We're going to have to order another one. Put a little metal etch on this fender. That's how we're going to give it back to the owner.
So for us right now, keeping it simple, we're eliminating a lot of the adornments that people had added to this. So it's just going to be all the chrome that was bolted on. Somebody had to drill the holes. We're going to hold a block of copper underneath it and weld up the holes and grind them. There's a few that are bulged out. We're going to leave the holes where the saddlebag's attached. Leave them here. This is where the little chrome trim goes on. Leave that. But there's a lot of holes with luggage racks and stuff that we're not going to put on. When this gets punched in the back, something's got to go, so the metal cracked, and I pounded the bracket straight. But to do it properly, you would drill this out, fix all the cracks, put a rivet back in there, try to pound that, but they work themselves loose. We're just going to weld it up, weld around the rivet, and I'll body work over it so it doesn't even show. Got a wide glide, and you got this fender that has the brackets that go up, and a skinnier fender for a 21-inch by 2.5-inch wheel. And you get a paint job done and everything, you come to a stop sign, the whole thing's rattling, so a lot of times you hold the front brake on there and it stops everything from rattling. But the fender, the rivets that attach, there's 4 rivets that hold the fender to this bracket that goes in between the forks. Those rattled loose, and then all of a sudden paint flaked off. So if I was doing it again, I would pound them rivets tight and weld them, and then body work over them.
Never do this.
There, that sounded good. So this is what we're using, is a big chunk of copper, and then I'll hold it up here, and he welds it, and then you don't have to worry about it, the metal dropping through.
There you go.
But it's hot. Yeah, keep it. Okay, at the back of the fender, this rolled lip was separating from this area, and you can see a gap. So he's going to put a tack weld there to hold it so it looks nice and tight like this one. So this channel had been modified so they could get wires in there, but we just put this back down on the sides and just tapping it. All the sandblasting grit, you got to blow the heck out of it, and every time you bump something, more sandpaper, sandblasting crap will come out. So you'll see that the holes that were required to be filled are all welded up now and leveled out. And now we can scuff this with 80 grit, and we're going to Bondo over all these holes. And then when that's smooth, then put the heavy primer on there, get that leveled out, and then it'll be ready for paint. You gotta have enough bite for the Bondo to dig in, and hang on, so I had to rough it up with that 80 grit again. And there's a lot of little pinholes up here where it was rusted. It's been sandblasted, and all that's got to be filled so it'll be nice and smooth when it's all done.
Makes this batch a little hot. But Paul's the man. He gets the job done.
Yeah, I'm basically just trying to fill those holes, and I'll sand it down to where you see the steel, and you just see that those holes are filled in. I was stripping the paint off, and then he took it to a shop and sandblasted it, and we still hadn't cleaned out the inside yet. So in the process of manhandling this with bare hands, the sandblasted steel was already getting rusty. And now I'm sanding this down, and then we're gonna fill some Bondo on here, on that dent. But anytime you've got bare hands and you got bare steel, the acids in your hands will rust up the fresh metal. So when you're doing body work, car, motorcycle, whatever, and you have body lines that are crisp, you know, metal like this, here's one like this. When you do Bondo, what I should have done is had tape going on, because this is hard to get in here with the sander, so I can dig it out, but it's just more of a hassle. What I should have done is put tape right up to that, and then you lay your Bondo, and then you can lift the tape off. Now you'll see it all in here. That, you know, you're going in there with a DA, and you're going up, and it beats the hell out of the DA. So now you'll see this, you know, it's hard to get in here. So I got to get this off. And then I think by now it's wavy enough where I'm going to put tape and bring the tape down to about here, and I'm going to skim Bondo all the way across here, so I'll level it out. It's where every bolt went into it, it's wavy. This way it really makes it a lot less of a hassle trying to get in there with a little block and trying to get those lines nice and crisp.
So our new fender came in here, and you can see how narrow that is, those braces on it, compared to this guy, which is ridiculous wide. It's close now.
Whereas before you had to bend them in to get them connected. The whole thing's probably got an oil preservative on it, so it won't rust, so we got to use lacquer thinner to get that off. We're just getting it ready. We're going to slap some Bondo on it, and you can see these spots that need to be repaired. There's one up here. See it once you get that off, you can just see them a lot better. So if you're ever doing Harley gas tanks and people think, oh, the gas tank's normal, it's good to go, I don't even need to sand it. Well, when it gets painted, then it looks real wavy. So where this is all welded together down to here, to this curve here, I'll show you. See all that right there appeared? It's wavier than heck, all the way out. So you're just going to put a skim coat over this. And then when you see it, this should be glass smooth.
There's a plate welded on the inside there.
And it's where it's spot welded. It strengthens it so it's not just flimsy and crack. So where that heat is and those got welded on, you're going to get deformation. The reason I'm scuffing this up with 80 grit is because the heavy filled primer needs something to bite into. And basically, you might think metal looks perfectly formed. Well, it's not. And when you end up having the high build primer, that'll all fill in the little waves and stuff so that when you sand it, then the paint job will turn out gloss black and not look wavy. So this is the metal being stretched in a die. It just gets, you know, it's a straight piece of sheet metal, all of a sudden, pa-punk, and it gets stamped into this curve. Well, the metal's got to go somewhere, and all these lines are where the metal has been stretched and pulled, and if you put paint on there, you're going to see every one of these. So you gotta have primer and build it up until it's beyond all those waves. Here you're looking at an item that's made in multiple pieces, probably because in them days They didn't have the stamping machines and the capability to make these dies. That's why when you look at a 1930 Ford or a 32 Ford, you know, and they had a top and there was always canvas up on top, they didn't have dies big enough to make a roof, so it was a lot of wood in there, and then they just had sides, the back, and everything got bolted together, and they just had canvas up on top. Well, this one you can see, and this rolled bead is part of the stamping. So you're saying, well, how could this thing be crushed down, you know, curved this way, stamped in enough to make that dimple, and then be able to get the thing off the die? You know, because now it's been stamped and it's formed around that leading ledge of the lower die. It would probably be a bitch for these people that are working to try pulling it off the bottom die each time.
Yeah, it's straight up one piece of metal there.
Right. And it's rolled over. We got to get Bondo to stick on here, and he had put a coat of that same sealer that's on the inside of the tank on the outside. And you can't expect Bondo to catch to a smooth plastic. That's what it is, like air curing plastic. We got to scuff this whole thing up so we can put the heavy primer on it.
Finally got this gas tank into some metal etch. Fender needed minimal Bondo.
Level off on the top. There's those dingers that we pulled out. And hopefully we got enough time tonight where I'll sand this down and we can get it all in the heavy primer. I'm just knocking this down. We're going to put some, you know, Bondo from here down, because usually near these welds it was all wavy. This isn't really that bad. There's a dinger here. And then this is the one with the patch. So I scuff this up for Bondo to dig into. So to knock it down, I'm using like, what is this, 36? Yeah, 36 really takes Bondo down. You can put it on pretty thick and then bring it down, and then I'll switch to 80, feather it in.
They're direct to metal rubber coat here, high build.
The Bondo got into this crease, so then you lose your crease, and then, you know, you got a vague body line, and this takes time.
It's Wednesday night, and we want to be painting this on Sunday. I don't know if it's going to happen or not, because we're going to block this out, then do it again probably one or two more times.